Hello everyone, this is Gene from NYC again. I'm back with another video. So much has happened in the past week, so much to catch up on. So I wanted to address a development, I guess you could say, as regards the She-Hulk Disney Plus series that's supposedly coming out. So I saw that there was a CBR article from September 1st, I believe, so it's only been about 2 days, that was talking about or hypothesizing why She-Hulk's origin needs to be changed for this new TV series. So I just wanted to briefly give my thoughts on that. So before I actually go into the meat and potatoes of this, as always, thank you all so much for listening to the videos, for taking time out of your day to hear me out and to hear what I have to say. I appreciate it so much, whether it's your first video or your 100th. Thank you again. Thank you to all the new subscribers that have subscribed recently. Thank you so much. I am sincerely humbled that you're willing to spend a little bit of your time on me. So there's this CBR article called, one moment, let me just pull it up, called Should She-Hulk's Disney, come on, where are you? There we go. The title is, Should She-Hulk's Disney Plus series change her origin? This is from CBR.com. For those who may not know, CBR stands for Comic Book Resources, though I don't remember the last time they actually covered anything legitimately related to comic books. But anyway, so this article came out on September 1st, written by Sean Lelos, I have no idea. But this article, in my opinion, is just pretty much shows how much Mr. Lalos, however you pronounce his last name, doesn't know anything about comics or comic fans or She-Hulk. But there was one part of it that I wanted to address in particular. So here's what it says. It comes in under the heading of why Marvel should change her origin, her being She-Hulk. So the author, I should say, writes, if Mark Ruffalo's Hulk shows up to save Jennifer with a blood transfusion, it causes an immediate problem. This origin means the only reason Walters becomes a superhero is due to her male cousin saving her life. Her existence is solely due to the actions of the Hulk. This connection makes her transformation into a hero that stands on her own even more difficult. Fans will never forget she is only there because her cousin is the Hulk. First of all, author, don't speak for the fans. Just because you can't get over the fact that she's a Hulk, right, does not mean other fans can't. Just because you cannot see her as an individual who happens to have Hulk-based powers does not mean that the fans cannot. So, for those who may not know, the way She-Hulk got her powers, and I've mentioned this in other videos where I've talked about She-Hulk or the way certain writers in comics such as Jason Aaron bastardized the character recently. The way She-Hulk got her abilities, but her origin story is that her cousin, Bruce Banner, in the original comics, it was supposed to be that they were cousins, but they had a brother-sister type relationship. That's something personally I think they should actually get back to, showing that they actually are close family members. But anyway, back to the point. So what happens is that cousin Bruce is visiting, they talk, she tells him that, she has a court case, she's defending someone against a mob boss, the guy turned states, yada, yada, yada. So the mob boss puts a hit out on Jennifer. Not only does he put a hit out on her, The hitmen attempt to kill her. I want to repeat that. The hitmen attempt to kill Jen Walters. It's not simply an order. They go out and they try to execute her. She is caught in a drive-by. And due to circumstances, Banner is the only one who can give her an emergency blood transfusion. This blood, because it's irradiated with gamma radiation, ends up turning her into the She-Hulk. Later on, when the mobsters come back at the end of the very first issue of Savage She-Hulk and try to finish the job, she turns into the She-Hulk for the first time, scares them away. So, there's that. That's her origin story, more or less. The first issue, I think, is a very good read of the Savage She-Hulk, because it will give you a good idea of who Jennifer Walters is as a character. Because she actually doesn't turn into the Hulk, or rather into She-Hulk, until the very end of the issue. So it's really, at least in my opinion, a character development piece, giving you an idea of who she is as a person before she has superpowers. So I don't know what in the world this writer is talking about, saying that this origin means the only reason Jen Walters is a superhero because of Bruce saving her life. Again, if this writer read the first issue, he would know that Jen works as a criminal defense attorney because she believes that everybody deserves a strong, rigorous defense. What that comic does, in my personal opinion, having read it, is that it establishes that Jennifer Walters, the person, is a sincerely well-meaning, earnest, heroic person. It cast her in a very positive light. This was something that Stan used to do often with his comic characters and their origin story. What he would do is that he would craft the story so that the reader understood and got the impression that with or without superpowers, or with or without a funny, flashy costume, this person was heroic in their own right. They are sincerely good, genuine, nice, heroic people. And that their gaining superpowers just enables them to, positively impact the world in a much more practical way, right? The way I look at it, it's like, when a little kid, right? A little kid who just has, a strong sense of justice, right? Maybe they stand up for other kids who are being bullied, right? Then they grow up and they decide to, say, become a police officer, right? Because that's a more hands-on, practical way to protect people than just, putting your hands on your fist and standing up to a bully and telling them to, stop picking on this person because they're smaller than you. That's the way I tend to look at the origin stories Stan Lee would come up with for a lot of his characters. So I find it interesting that this author would write that the only reason Jen is a superhero is because to Bruce Banner. No. Jen was sincerely heroic prior to Bruce saving her life. She owes her life to Bruce, that's true, but she does not owe her heroism to him. Her heroism has always been her own, and anybody who's read She-Hulk knows that she experiences the She-Hulk form in a much different way than Bruce does. But given this article, I think it's pretty obvious that this writer never actually read the series Savage or Sensational at any point. He probably just did a wiki search and then got that wrong. That's my opinion, but I do think it's valid. So there's that. Another thing I wanted to address in this very brief video is how, again, in my opinion, right, that wanting to change Jen's origin story, right? And no doubt make it softer. I mean, you don't get much more hardcore than surviving a mob hit. So no doubt, at least in my opinion, they would try to make it softer. In fact, and I mentioned this in the previous She-Hulk video I did, articles I have been reading keep saying that Jen becomes the She-Hulk or she's rescued by Banner because of an accident. Surviving a mob hit is not an accident. It's a miracle. It's a testament to the human spirit. It's plot armor, but it is not an accident. There was a valid attempt on her life twice. And I have to admit that these puff piece media websites like CBR would seriously suggest that Jennifer Walters' origin story be altered to somehow separate her from Bruce Banner and have her stand on her own. First of all, Superhero Comics 101. No one stands on their own. Everybody has allies. Everybody has a team. Do you read superhero comics? But seriously, that this would even be a suggestion that her origin story has to change because Banner, for whatever reason, Bruce Banner has to somehow be written out so that she can stand on her own, despite the fact that she's been standing on her own as a character for decades now, to me is incredibly sexist. And I don't like using that word. I don't like using ist and phobe type of words because they're so overwrought and overdone and overused in today's society that it comes across as just a cheap insult. But if I'm being honest, and if nothing else, I do strive to be honest in my videos, this to me is the height of sexism, in my personal opinion. They would never suggest changing Bruce Banner's origin story. They would never suggest changing Spider-Man's origin story, right, where his own inaction gets his uncle killed. They would never do that. And even though it's a different company, I've yet to hear anybody ever suggest that they soften or change the origin story of Batman, who witnessed his parents be brutally murdered for no reason, right? Shot to death in front of an 8-year-old's eyes. No one ever says anything about softening that or changing that. No one ever talks about changing the origin of Superman, right? The last son of Krypton. Right? No one ever says, hey, let's not destroy Krypton, let's give him a different origin. I have never heard such a thing for a non-comic adaptation of Superman. The character's origin story is their origin. It's how they came to be. And oftentimes it establishes what type of character they are. You know what, to me, Jen's origin story establishes? First of all, it establishes her sincerely heroic and dogged pursuit of justice. She wants to see this mobster go to jail. That's her goal. That's what she wants to see. She wants to see justice served. That's why she's an attorney. She wants to provide a rigorous defense for her client. And keep in mind, she's a criminal defense attorney. Right? Those are the people who are typically characterized in TV shows like Law and Order as the, sleazy, amoral attorney. She's the exact opposite of all that. And the fact that, again, she shot and she lives, right, is proof, at least to me, is symbolic of her incredible toughness, right? Not just physical toughness, right, but her strength of spirit, which is something that up until recently has always been a unique feature of her. She's very determined, right? Jennifer Walters as a person, when she's not She-Hulk, may be very meek and mild and all that, but she's not a coward, right? if you read the first, I would say, definitely 1 or 2 issues of Savage, you will see that this woman is, if there was ever a term or a character that represented dogged pursuit, it's got to be Jen, or at least one of the characters who would represent such a thing, because she does not know when to quit. In fact, I think it's the 2nd or 3rd issue of Savage She-Hulk, when she's finally, and keep in mind, this is not completely healthy again, but when she's basically healthy enough to leave the hospital, the first thing she does is go back to work. And keep in mind, the mob boss doesn't stop putting out hits on her. There's actually another hit put out on her. I think a female friend of hers is accidentally killed instead, if I remember the story correctly. But the poor girl's doped out on pain pills, is trying to drive a car because she's trying to get to the courthouse to defend her clients so that she can help put this mob boss in jail. The woman is determined, and her origin story establishes that long before she gets the superpowers. So to suggest that she's a hero because of Bruce Banner, in my opinion, is erroneous at best and flat out dumb at worst. And to say that having to write Banner out, keep in mind Banner saved her life, saying that you have to write Banner out so that she can stand on her own is just the silliest thing. No man and no woman is an island. No one stands alone. In fact, loneliness is one of the biggest, most terrible things a person can experience. Nobody wants to be alone. Not even Batman wants to be alone. Why do you think he has the Bat family? But just this disgusting, erroneous idea that she can only be a hero in her own right if she doesn't have any connection to any man in any sense just, incenses me. There's actually another part of the article further down where it says here, it is also, and I'm reading from the article here, it is also vital for Marvel to continue to push female superheroes on their own without a reliance on their male counterparts. Captain Marvel was a step in the right direction, and making Marvel female helped remove her from the shadow of the male version of her character. First things first, when she was Miss Marvel, she had been out of Marvel's shadow for years. She had been out of his shadow for literal decades. People knew her more than they knew Marvel. What are you talking about, writer? Did you research? Did you read anything? Carol's better known as Miss Marvel. I still refer to her as Miss Marvel, and many other people do. Guess what? She was much more likable as Miss Marvel, and not just because she had a cool-looking costume, but because she had an actual likable personality. But anyway, continuing, it says, Wasp, on the other hand, remains connected to Ant-Man. I fail to see where this is a problem with Wasp being connected to Ant-Man. I just remember seeing the commercials of the film. The commercials made it clear that she's the brains and he's the fool. But anyway, Scarlet Witch had her brother and now the Vision. Okay. What is wrong with Scarlet Witch having a brother and someone she's in love with, Vision? I don't see what the problem is here. This would be like saying I'm somehow demeaned because I have a brother. My brother's existence does not suddenly cast a shadow over my head. I don't understand this way of thinking. But anyway, continuing. By changing She-Hulk's origin, she could be more like Captain Marvel and Black Widow than characters like Wasp and Scarlet Witch. Except that, at least in the case of Black Widow, she was not alone. She was not without men in her life. She was part of the Avengers. The Avengers have got at least 3 men? Tony, Thor, and Captain America? 4, sorry. Hawkeye, and then Banner. So where in the world... I guess what they mean is that Black Widow doesn't have a male that she got her abilities from. I'm assuming that's what she means, but then, or rather he means, this author of this article. But then again, Scarlet Witch did not get her powers from Quicksilver or Vision. She's not a legacy character, at least not in that sense. She has her powers because she's the daughter of Magneto. Or at least last I checked, she was the daughter of Magneto. They always change these things up, and I don't know why. But anyway, I can't wrap my brain around this type of thinking. This idea that women somehow can only be empowered if they don't have men in their lives, right? If we don't have lovers, fathers, brothers, uncles, nephews. If I've said it once, I've probably said it at least 20 times. But I'm going to say it again. So long as the relationships are healthy, right, and everybody involved is relatively decently adjusted, right, well-adjusted people, women want men in their lives. I repeat, women want men in their lives. Okay, we love our fathers, we love our brothers, we love our nephews, we love our uncles, we love our boyfriends, we love our platonic friends, we love our husbands, our fiancés, our exes, so on and so on and so forth. The majority of women don't have many issues with men, right? Even women I know who have been divorced, right, or have lost their husbands, due to death or whatnot. I've never known them to hate men. Now, of course, they may be sour or broken up over that relationship with a particular man, right? Maybe they're gun shy to date again or to open themselves up emotionally in a romantic sense. And that's understandable. But I can't think of any woman that I know who outright hates men. I know women who have some issues with some particular guys in their lives, who hasn't had issues with men in their lives. Men have issues with men in their lives. But I can't think of a woman at least that I've known. I've known many a woman in my life who hates men and totally wants her life free of any and all male contact. I hate to break it to these writers, but the island of Themyscira is not real. It does not exist. And I don't think too many women honestly would want it to. That's just me, though. That's just me. So those are my thoughts on it. To make a long video short, I find the idea of changing She-Hulk's origin and most likely making it less severe to somehow separate her from the Hulk is just plain moronic, idiotic, sexist, and an insult to my intelligence as a person who's able to read and as a comic book fan. So I do hope that this opinion piece, if you want to call it that, I don't think it's intelligent enough to be considered an opinion, but that's just me. But I do hope that this opinion piece remains just that, an opinion. I will be incredibly upset if it turns out that they actually go through with this and they alter her origin story to make it softer and not as violent, and or B, to remove Bruce Banner from it. Because apparently having your male cousin save your life is a crime now. Apparently now this is a social blight that must be corrected. Because how dare male family members care for their female family members and save their lives? Anyhow, that's the video. Please let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.